It's homecoming week for New Mexico State, and today we get you up to speed on everything Aggies. We have highlights from the Aggies football game against Texas State. Head coach Doug Martin will stop by to look back at that game and preview his team's upcoming home game against the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. New Mexico State volleyball has won 3 of their last 4 matches to improve to 8-3 in conference play. Head coach Mike Jordan will be in studio to recap his team's recent success and look ahead to the remaining matches in WAC play. We go from the football field to the volleyball court on today's episode of New Mexico State Sports Weekly. Welcome to New Mexico State Sports Weekly. I'm your host, Adam Young. Aggie football played their first of 3 straight home games last Saturday. New Mexico State compiled over 600 yards of total offense and received outstanding individual play from QB Tyler Rogers and running back Larry Rose III, but the Aggies' comeback fell just short in a 37-29 setback against Texas State. The loss dropped the Aggies to 2-7 overall and 1-4 in the Sun Belt. Let's take a look at the highlights from Saturday. Aggies taking on the Texas State Bobcats for just the second time in school history. The Aggies break out the sharp-looking black uniforms for this one. First quarter action, Texas State up 3-0. Tyler Rogers finds a streaking Gerald Brown, and he'll take it 86 yards to the end zone. Aggies grab the lead 7-3. This was the start of a big day on offense for the Aggies. Rogers ends up throwing for 400+. Texas State, however, on the ensuing possession, drives to the Aggie 20-yard line, and on 4th down, they go for it. Robert Lowe rushes 14 yards to the end zone. Bobcats lead 10-7. This game was like a tennis match. Rogers and the Aggies drive to midfield, but Rogers has his pass tipped and intercepted by Jermod Williams. Interceptions continuing to haunt Rogers during the campaign. On the ensuing drive, Robert Lowe again caps off the drive with a 5-yard touchdown run, and that gives the Bobcats a 10-point advantage. Second quarter, closing seconds of the half, Rogers will loft one into the corner of the end zone. What a grab by Joseph Matthews. Keeps his foot in, and the Aggies cut into the lead, and they trail at halftime 17-14. Third quarter, Texas State was efficient all day. Here, Terrence Franks rushes 14 yards up the gut. He'll get the score, and the Cats extend their lead to 24-14. Later, the Bobcats force the Aggies to punt. But watch Franks. He blocks the punt and recovers it himself, and he'll walk into the end zone untouched. However, the Cats would miss the extra point, and they lead 30-14. The Aggies would answer, though. Rogers dumps one over the middle, and it's Larry Rose again. He weaves his way 35 yards for a first down. Rose was the man again. He rushes for 181 on the ground, over 200 yards of offense for Larry. Later on in the drive, Rose up the middle. He'll score from 13 yards out, and the Texas State lead is cut to 9 points. Back come the Bobcats. Quarterback Tyler Jones is rushed out of the pocket, and he finds Lawrence White. He somersaults into the end zone for a 37-21 Bobcat lead. Rogers and the Aggies looking to answer, but Rogers is picked off at the 14-yard line. A key turnover late in the game by New Mexico State. On to the fourth quarter. Late in the game, Rogers finds his favorite target, Teldrick Morgan, in the flat, and Morgan finds the end zone once again this year. The Aggies tack on the 2-point conversion, and we have ourselves a ball game. The lead is only 8 for Texas State. Closing seconds. Final chance for the Aggies. They drive inside the Texas State 40. Rogers throws the Hail Mary, but this one just wasn't meant to be. It sails out of bounds. Game over. The Aggies' comeback falls just short. Final score, Texas State 37, New Mexico State 29. Final stats for this one, arguably the best offensive game of the year for New Mexico State. 639 yards of total offense. Larry Rose runs for nearly 200 yards, and Tyler Rogers throws for over 400. Unfortunately, turnovers pop up again for New Mexico State. They commit 2, while Texas State did not record any. When we come back, we'll be joined by head football coach Doug Martin. He'll recap Saturday's close game against Texas State. Aggie up, and stay tuned for more New Mexico State Sports Weekly. Your Aggie football team sits at 2-7 this season after a close loss against Texas State last Saturday. Tyler Rogers threw for over 400 yards, and Larry Rose ran for nearly 200 to help the Aggies rack up 639 yards of total offense. Those numbers weren't enough, though, as the Aggies dropped their 7th straight game by the final of 37-29. Joining me now to discuss the Texas State game is head football coach Doug Martin. Coach, your offense, big numbers offensively. The offensive line in particular really shined. Best game they played all year?
I think it probably was, Adam. It's probably one of the better games we played offensively all year. Desmond Candelaire started his first game at right guard for us as a true freshman and played very well. But with those numbers that you just put up there, though, we really should be more points. And what's hurting us right now is we're making too many mistakes, penalties or red zone errors, and it's keeping us from getting enough points to win games.
You only had 29 points with those 600-plus yards. How disappointing is that as a whole?
Yeah, it's disappointing because we're making a lot of plays. As you mentioned, Tyler probably played one of his better games, and he can make plays. Larry Rose can make plays. We've got wide receivers that can do things. So unlike last year, we've got talent now. We've got talented kids that can make plays, but we've got to learn how to not beat ourselves. And that's as a whole football team, not just our offense. But, if we don't beat ourselves, we've got a chance probably to win 3, maybe 4 games this year.
I mentioned Larry's numbers earlier, nearly 200 yards rushing. What was the key to his success?
Well, I think number one, the offensive line did play very well. They opened up some pretty big holes for him. But as you can see, when Larry gets in the open field, he can make people miss. He's got speed to run away from people. He caught the ball very well out of the backfield, which is one of the things that Larry has struggled with, but he caught the ball really well Saturday. So, when you look at him next year with 10, 15 pounds heavier, he's going to be fun to watch for a while around here.
Tyler Rogers threw for over 400 yards. How encouraging was that to see?
Very much. I thought Tyler, his decision making was really good. I felt like really he only made one bad decision. That was the interception he threw down the red zone. He tried to throw back across his body, which a lot of young quarterbacks try to do, and that's always a disaster. But other than that, he really made great decisions. He made key throws at key times, ran when he needed to. We had a couple of quarterback draws that he executed really well, and he's making a lot of progress.
With all those good things you did offensively, can you use those as positives going forward?
Yeah, I think so, no question. I think what our players understand is that was one of the better teams in the Sun Belt, Texas State. Our players understand we can beat anybody in the Sun Belt if we just don't beat ourselves and put ourselves in position. There's been 4 games this year that we've lost that in the fourth quarter we've been in position to have a chance to win those games, and that's the first stage. And then it's about going out recruiting another class like we just got and being in position to win all those games.
I know you want the wins and the results, but your team was on the cusp of defeating Texas State. Do you feel like you're close to getting to where you want to be?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. We are close, and but we're probably in one recruiting class away, Adam, from being where we really need to be. We're at 68 scholarships right now. We want to be at 85, and we can't get that done until next year's recruiting class. We only have one recruiting class here right now, and it's a good one with Larry Rose and Tyler Rogers and all these defensive guys that are playing. But realistically, we're one class away from getting our program healthy again.
New Mexico State is back in action this Saturday, November 8th, against Louisiana. The Ragin' Cajuns are on a 4-game win streak and undefeated in Sun Belt play. Coach and I will discuss his thoughts on the upcoming home game when we return our New Mexico State Sports Weekly.
I love the character of our football team. I think we've showed up week after week after week and competed, and I haven't seen them let up at all. And they had a great week of practice last week. Talking to them this Sunday, they had a great look in their eyes. I think they probably took a little bit of confidence out of that Texas State game as far as how they played. I know we didn't win the game. We're not into moral victories and those things, but we competed.
Welcome back to New Mexico State Sports Weekly. Aggie football will look for their second Sun Belt win of the season on Saturday when they welcome Louisiana to Aggie Memorial Stadium for the annual homecoming game. The Ragin' Cajuns come in with a perfect record of 4-0 in conference, and they look to go to 5-0 in Sun Belt play. We're joined by the head coach, Doug Martin. Coach, an outstanding year so far for Louisiana. Do you feel like they're right there with Georgia Southern as one of the best teams in the Sun Belt?
Oh, I think Louisiana Lafayette is by far the best team in the Sun Belt, talent-wise. When you look at them, Adam, they got more speed, more talent than really anybody else in the conference. And they're going to be hard to handle. This is where we need to get to recruiting-wise. We don't quite have the talent that they're going to have. Doesn't mean we can't win the game, but this is the most talented team in the conference.
Louisiana averaged 41 points per game in their first 3 Sun Belt games. Only 19 last week, but they won. How dangerous is their offense?
Very. It starts with the quarterback, who we played last year. Bradshaw's a great quarterback. They've got big, physical running backs. They've got receivers that have a lot of speed. And defensively, they're a very fast, physical football team. They've had a lot of years to recruit that talent up, and it shows. They're the class of the conference right now.
Do you see your defense still growing week to week with all those freshmen and sophomores?
I do. I think we're still doing great things. We played better against the run Saturday, which was much improved, and we're still causing turnovers. We're getting people the football. We look like a better football team defensively.
I take it offensively, if you play like you did last week, you'll take that every single week?
No question. It's just a matter of us. If we eliminate mistakes, particularly in the kicking game, which hurt us last week, but we just have to learn how to not beat ourselves in critical situations, and that's young players learning those trades. But we're very close to getting that done, and we get that done, we can play with anybody.
If you take out those errors on special teams and the penalties last week, do you feel like you win that game?
Oh, there's no question. I told our players it wasn't that Texas State, and no discredit to them, but it wasn't that they won the game, it's that we lost it. And more games are lost than are won, meaning that most teams lose games because they beat themselves, not because the other team just has more talent. And that's certainly what's happened to us several times this year.
Saturday is the annual homecoming game. Does that add a new element for your players, or is it treated like any other week?
Yeah, I think it does. There's better opponents to pick than Lafayette for a homecoming, but that's going to be a tough homecoming opponent. But we're excited about that, and excited about hopefully former players coming back. A lot of those guys have been back this year for other games, and we just love having those guys come and talk to our players and be around the program.
You have a challenge ahead. You're taking on a 4-0 Ragin' Cajuns team. How big could a win like this be?
Well, it'd be great. It'd be huge for our players' confidence and for them to validate all the work that they've put into this, and that can certainly happen if we play the way we're capable of.
Could that change a season?
Well, yeah, I think it can. It certainly can propel us into a great recruiting season and finishing this season the right way. And I think our players understand how close we are to winning any game we go out there any Saturday. You look at the games we lost; most of them have been one-score losses, just like last Saturday. So. Just like Georgia Southern, they're leading the conference. That was a one-score loss. So we're close. Our players understand that, and we'll play with everything we got Saturday.
We hope to see you Saturday for the homecoming game as the Aggies look to hand the Ragin' Cajuns their first conference loss of the season. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m. Best of luck on Saturday, Coach.
Thank you, Adam.
When we return, we'll be joined by head volleyball coach Mike Jordan. His team is coming off a pair of 4-set wins at home against Seattle and Utah Valley last week. The Volleyball Aggies are all alone in second place in the WAC after pushing their conference mark to 8-3. Coach Jordan will discuss his team's recent home matches when we come back. Stay with us. This is New Mexico State Sports Weekly.
We've been putting it out there that this year is really about the seniors. It's just laid out for them to kind of make a bid to have a great year right now. Seniors and all 4 of those guys are great guys, and 3 of them are fifth-year guys, and Daniel and Remy and Chili. So, you got a lot of experience in those 4 spots, and it's up to them how good we are.
The New Mexico State volleyball team has won 3 of their last 4 matches to improve their conference record to 8-3. The Aggies defeated Seattle University last Thursday before capping off their home season with a win against Utah Valley on Senior Day last Saturday. Here with me now in studio is head volleyball coach Mike Jordan. Coach, 2 really nice wins last week. Satisfied with your team's play?
Well, given the circumstances, Adam, absolutely. With Hannah Walker out to injury, and then of course Sasha getting hurt on Friday, not being able to play Saturday. Anytime you can come away shorthanded, get a couple of wins against 2 solid teams, you got to feel good about it.
With those injuries to Walker and Thomas, how do rules change because of that?
That's a good question, and it's a very hard question to answer right now. With Audra Jones being out all year, we are very thin in the middle. In fact, Shelby Good could play some middle, but that's not her natural position. We're going to wind up probably playing an outside hitter at that middle spot. And in all cases, Casey Tome, for instance, on Saturday, maybe Bradley Nash this weekend, none of them have really played middle before except for maybe a little bit in high school. So it's going to be an adjustment. We're going to have to sort of reinvent ourselves a little bit, but we'll find a way.
Can you view this as a chance for somebody to step up?
No question. And I think a lot of our players understand that, you do what's best for the team, obviously, and they're looking forward to the challenge. So we're going to give them an opportunity. We'll see what happens.
With those injuries and the fact that you rely heavily on underclassmen, especially freshmen, how different has this year been because of that?
It's been really different. You know, I don't know that I'm sure we have never played this many young players ever in the history of the program. And it's a challenge, but I like their athletic ability. They're good young women. They really are quality people. They've got team first on their mind. And when you've got that and you get into the gym and you work and they improve their work ethic and they learn how to play, you can create something pretty neat. And I think down the stretch we've got an opportunity to do that.
Do you feel like your team is peaking at the right time?
Well, with the injuries, it's hard to say that. Yeah. I don't believe we can play as good a volleyball as we were a little bit earlier in the season right now. But we've still got 2-3 weeks to make some adjustments and get us going. And November does something here. And you know, we're used to getting to the NCAA tournament. We're used to winning championships, and November's winning time. So hopefully we'll get it rolling.
What areas do you need to make adjustments in?
Well, with the change at middle blocker, obviously, we've got to find a way to be a bit better blocking team. If we can't block as many balls as we did before with Sasha, obviously it's likely that we won't be able to do that. We've got to find other ways to score points. We've got to dig a little bit better. Quality of dig's got to be better, create a better transition swing, get a few more kills for ourselves that way. Serve the ball a little bit tougher, pick up an ace or two more than we have per set. We can do those things. We've got the bodies and the arms, and I think the competitive drive to do it.
Final 3 matches in conference play on the road. How difficult is that schedule-wise?
Well, it's not going to be too bad, I hope, because it's just one match this weekend. And then, of course, the long trip to Chicago and Kansas City, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. But, you know, it is what it is. And like I said, it's November, so the competitive juices should be flowing a little bit and get us through those tired times.
The Aggies will play their final 3 WAC matches on the road starting Saturday against Texas Pan American. After the break, Coach and I will preview the remaining conference schedule. Don't go anywhere. This is New Mexico State Sports Weekly. Welcome back to New Mexico State Sports Weekly. New Mexico State volleyball played their final home match of the season last week. The Aggies took down Utah Valley on Senior Day before celebrating the careers of seniors Hannah Walker and Shelby Good in a post-game ceremony. Now the Aggies look ahead to their final 3 conference matches on the road before heading to the WAC tournament in late November. Back with us in studio is head volleyball coach Mike Jordan, 8-3 now in conference, Coach.
Right.
Satisfied with your current position?
Well, we're used to first place. Second place is we are where we are, and I think we've got to understand, you know, we put ourselves in that position. Hopefully it's motivation to get in the gym and work a little bit harder and find a way to come out top in the conference tournament.
What do you hope to see in these next 2 weeks?
Well, the competitive spirit has got to be there consistently. We've played really good volleyball for stretches. Saturday for a couple of sets, and then you know we go a little bit in the tank in the third. And we're a very good team when we've got the lead. We're a little shaky when it's tight, and we're not very good when we're down a few points. I'm used to seeing us come back from deficits a little more often than we have this year. We've done it a few times, but it's important that we play well and competitively, consistently, regardless of score, and that young players, when they make a mistake, have to bounce back and make a play. And too often they hang their head a little bit too much. They worry about what's past more than they should instead of preparing for the next point, and it'll lead to another mistake. Those are things that veteran players understand and they don't do as often. Hopefully this team will get there before the season's over.
Building on that, you've had a lot of success here, a lot of NCAA tournament appearances, especially as of late. What's been the staple of your really good teams here heading into the NCAA tournament?
I think we've always had one outside hitter that's been tremendous offensively. Another that maybe is sort of the glue of the team, maybe a great ball control player, great passer, someone that's going to stay on the floor in 6 rotations. And we've had great middles and the ability to set those middles in transition quite a bit. It's a big staple of our program. Those are the things that typically, when I look at the teams of the past that have been really successful, those are the key ingredients.
Looking down the road to the WAC tournament, who can challenge you?
Well, everybody can challenge us right now, especially with the injuries, but I do think our best volleyball is still better than anybody else in the conference. UMKC obviously has a very good team. Seattle has great athletes and size. Utah Valley can play really good volleyball in stretches. Bakersfield, for as small as they are, probably plays as good a skill volleyball game as anybody else in the conference. They pass well, They serve it tough. They play great defense, and they're very competitive. Those teams are playing pretty well right now.
And you still see UMKC in the regular season. You'll match up against them in a few weeks, possibly before you see them late in the conference tournament.
Right, and there's a good chance because of their loss the other day, there's a good chance that when they go on the road to Seattle and Utah Valley, they've got to play two very good teams on the road. That's a long trip for them. If they manage to take a loss, we could be playing them for the regular season championship, the last match of the season. So let's get it done.
That could be exciting.
Right on.
The Aggies look to finish the conference season strong with 3 road matches in the next 2 weeks. It all starts Saturday when the Aggies make the trip to Edinburgh to take on Texas Pan American. Be sure to log on to nmstatesports.com to follow your Aggies the rest of the way. Coach, we appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Adam.
It's not too late to get your seats for Aggie football. Be part of the excitement at the final 2 home games by calling the Aggie ticket office at 575-646-1420. You can also get your tickets online at nmstatesports.com or ticketmaster.com. If you missed any part of today's show, you can check us out on YouTube, and be sure to stay up to speed on social media by liking New Mexico State Athletics on Facebook and following us on Twitter. That will do it for this week's installment of New Mexico State Sports Weekly. I'm Adam Young saying thank you for watching, and go Aggies.